Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to go over with you guys and talk to you all about sales orders and purchase orders and managing inventory. So for anyone that hasn't joined one of my webinars, my name is Trisha Thomas. I'm a partner here at Fourlane. And before we get into our topic of sales orders and purchase orders, I have a couple of things to go over with you guys. So I always like to remind everyone, we do have a YouTube channel. So if you've missed any of our webinars, you can always find them on our channel at youtube.com/Fourlane. There's over 200 videos up there, and we add more each day. It usually takes us about a week for us to get the current webinar. So this one that I'm sharing today will be uploaded next week. Also, we would love for you guys to like and subscribe to that channel. That way, you get notifications every time we upload so you don't miss any of our videos. We also would love for you guys to be part of our Facebook group. There's also always lots of great information in there. Lots of great questions get asked. So if you'd like to be part of that group, our Facebook group name is Fourlane QuickBooks Enterprise. So please hop into Facebook and join our group. I'm also excited about this on-demand support plan that we created. We heard frustration from our clients about having to reach out to try to get support they needed when it comes to licensing problems, software problems, user problems. And so we created an on-demand support plan. That way we can continue to provide that support that our clients are used to. So that support plan is $25 per QuickBooks user per month for up to 5 users. The price then drops to $20 per month for 6 users or more. And how it works. So once we get you signed up, anytime you run into any kind of technical support, all you have to do is email our help desk, include in the email what's going on, the best time to reach out to you, and the urgency level of the issue. What you're going to get from us is an email within the hour with a date and time for us to meet with you to get your issue taken care of. So if you guys are interested in that plan, please reach out and we'll get you signed up. Okay, so as I said, today we're going to talk about sales orders and purchase orders around inventory. So I'm going to talk to you guys about why we recommend starting with the sales order when it comes to inventory management. I'm going to walk through the process of creating both a sales order and a purchase order. And then we're going to look at some reporting. So different ways that you can manage your inventory around the sales order and the purchase order. Okay, so kind of taking a look at our QuickBooks file. So this is our home screen. So when you think about your QuickBooks file and you think about this home screen and you've got your different modules, all of these buttons or features are based on your company setup. So if you see a button or function on my screen and you don't see it in your accounting file, what we want to do is come over to Edit and go to Preferences. So Preferences is where we create and turn on different features for how we want our file structure and how we're going to use it. So you can see that you've got all these different tabs over here, and then you've got 2 tabs over here. So my preference, these are all things in regards to when you log in to your accounting file. So you can see, for example, if you want to press enter and have it move between the fields, you can select that. If you don't like the beep when you record a transaction, you can turn that off. So this is just when you log into the accounting file, what are the things that you want to, work for you. Then the company preferences, this is for the entire accounting file. Changes affect everyone, the entire file. So you have to be an admin user to change company preferences. And some of the features you have to be in single user mode. So if it pops up, you try to change something and you do need to be in single user mode. It will tell you, everyone needs to log out and you need to switch over to single user mode before you can make that change. So for example, if you want to create estimates and do progress invoicing in your accounting file, you need to make those active. That's not a standard function, so you have to make it active. In regards to managing your inventory in your accounting file, you need to make sure that you have inventory and purchase orders active, so that way those features get turned on and you've got the reporting that you need. So I always like to talk to clients about this section here. So this is in regards to negative inventory. So QuickBooks is very user-friendly, and sometimes that can cause problems, especially when it comes to inventory, because even though the system will allow you to create negative inventory quantities, it doesn't mean that you should. So you can see that you can set it up to warn you if you don't have enough inventory, and you can choose it to warn you if the quantity to sell exceeds the quantity on hand, or if the quantity that you want to sell exceeds the availability. And we're going to talk about those two things are different inside of your QuickBooks accounting file. And then you can choose to say, don't allow negative quantities. And so what this means is if someone tries to create a customer invoice and there is not enough quantity on hand for that item, they cannot invoice the customer. So this will prevent 100% of having no negative inventory in the file. So when we review our clients' files, one of the reports that we look at in regards to negative inventory is this report found under inventory, and it's called negative inventory listing. So if you currently have items in your file, I would definitely say go take a look at that report. And if you've got items listed here and you have negative quantity on hand, what this tells us is this gives us an idea if we need to do some work when it comes to our workflows. So we want to make sure that the workflows we're doing is not creating negative inventory. So for example, we don't want to invoice our customers until we've received the inventory. So if you continue to run negative inventory in your accounting file, this will lead to corruption in that database. So inventory management is a very important piece when it comes to your QuickBooks file. Okay, so let's take a look at the process of creating our customer's order and managing inventory. So if you're going to manage inventory inside of your accounting file and you start with estimates, we recommend that you want to convert that estimate to a sales order. So inside of an estimate, when you create an estimate, you can see that you have three options. You can create an invoice, you can create a sales order, or you can create a purchase order. QuickBooks uses the sales order transaction type for managing inventory and the inventory reports when it comes to our quantity on hand and what's available to sell. So it's very important if we do create estimates and they include inventory items that we convert that to a sales order. And sometimes clients do it when our customer accepts it. So they treat the estimate as a bid or a proposal. And when their customer accepts that bid or proposal, they create a sales order. Now, keep in mind, it's different for construction clients that aren't managing inventory and need to do progress invoicing. That has to stay at the estimate. What we're talking about today is managing our inventory, and that starts with sales orders when it comes to inventory reports. Okay, so we're going to start from the sales order for this example, since that's what I'm going over with you guys. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a sales order, and I'm going to walk you through and talk about quantity on hand versus quantity available. Okay, so let me go ahead and just choose a customer, and let's choose a couple of items. So we're going to do our cabinet pulls, and we are going to order 30 of these. Okay, we're going to choose our light pine, and we are going to do 10 of these. And I want to see you guys what just popped up when I put in here that this customer is ordering 10 of the light pine cabinets. So you can see that you can see a quantity on hand of 6, quantity on a sales order of 3. So that is changing our available to only 3 because we've already committed on another order 3 of our light pine cabinets. Okay, so when you think about, let me give you another example, is if you have a customer that orders 5 items and you only have 3 in stock that can be fulfilled, you have a choice of either invoicing for the 3 and waiting and ordering the other 2 that you need, or what I would recommend is creating a sales order for all 5 items, and then the items that have to be ordered, we go create a purchase order, because what that's going to do is it's going to place a hold on those 3 items that we did have in stock. So we make sure that they aren't sold to another customer. So we want to make sure that, think of it as that sales order as a placeholder of our inventory quantities. Okay, so I'm going to choose OK. So this tells us we're going to have to do some ordering. And then I'm going to choose one more item. Same thing, it's coming up and it's saying we have 0 on hand. We have 1 on a sales order. So that's giving us a quantity of -1. So this is that example that I'm telling you guys, if I invoice this customer for this door, I would have negative inventory quantities, and I don't want to have that. Okay, so I want to show you another, let's go ahead and we'll put a pin on this one. I want to show you some other features when it comes to the sales order. Now, again, when it comes to managing your inventory at sales order level, this is going to be based on user access. So if your sales team is creating sales orders and they don't have access to inventory, they're not going to be able to do these features that I'm showing you, such as, creating purchase orders. I'm just kind of showing you full process. Okay, so right here at your little order column, you see this little graph. And this little graph gives you information about your item. So it's giving you your item name and description. And then again, keyword quantity available. So this box shows us we have a quantity on hand of 423. We have no other quantity reserved for any orders or assemblies, so we can sell 423 of these. That is what I have available. So let's go down, let's look at our other items. So our light pine cabinets, we have 6 on hand, meaning 6 in the warehouse, but 3 of those are reserved for another order. So all we have available is 3. Okay, so we need to order to fulfill this order. We don't have enough to fulfill because we don't want to use the 3 that are for another customer's order. And last but not least, our exterior door. So this one, our availability is showing that we have 0 on hand. We have 1 for a sales order, and so that's giving us a -1 for our available. But looky here, we've already created a purchase order, and so we have 10 on order. And you can click to say, show me the details of that purchase order. And so it's showing you the date it was ordered, the expected date of receiving, and who we ordered it from, and how many we ordered. So for this one, for the example, we don't need to go place another purchase order because we already have some in transit. Okay, so that's why this is important too. If you're managing inventory, you want to have your transactions in the file so you know what next steps are. Do I need to order? Do I have it on hand to fulfill? Or am I going to leave it at sales order until I receive these items that are already on order? Okay, so let's walk through the reordering of our light pine so that we can see the purchase order piece of it. So you can order, coming back to your home screen, you can order from purchase order here, but what I want to show you guys, that automation that QuickBooks has built in, and so we're going to create the purchase order from our sales order so the system will do the work for us. So I'm going to choose create purchase order. And you can see that it's going to pop up and it's going to say, are we creating a purchase order for all of our items or is it for selected? And in this example, we only need to order our light pine cabinet, so I'm going to choose selected. I'm just going to choose that second item. Again, it's going to show me my quantity. I'm going to choose OK, and then you're going to see the system do the work for me. So this is when we tell clients the more data we put in the file, the more reports we have, the more automation we can have. So for this item, I had a preferred vendor set up, so I didn't have to do anything. It did the work for me. It pulled over my item information, so I've got my item, the quantity on that sales order, and it also linked it to that customer. So when I receive this item, I can let the salesperson know we got in our light pine cabinet, so you can go fulfill this order. And it filled in my vendor name. I didn't even have to go find what vendor that we purchased these from because I already had it set up on the front end of what I showed you guys last week when it comes to creating new items. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. Let me make sure I did save my sales order. Okay, perfect. So when it comes to QuickBooks, purchase orders and sales orders are non-posting, meaning there is no financial impact by creating these, but there is in our reporting. So we can see these orders reflected when it comes to our inventory reporting. So one of my favorite reports I always tell clients about, under reports, it's under inventory. It's called the inventory stock status by item. Okay, and so what this report shows us is all of our active inventory items. If we set up categories, it's going to show us our categories. Here's that preferred vendor, meaning who do I order from? And then we have a column for our minimum reorder point, meaning how many do I want to keep on hand at all times? What's that minimum number? And then you can see that we've got an on-hand column. So what do we have in the warehouse? What do we have on sales orders? So what orders do we need to fulfill? Same for our assemblies. And then that gives us our availability. So you can see that this report is using our sales orders we've created. It's using our purchase orders we've created, and it's building this report for us so we don't have to go and manually look in the warehouse or go talk to people to say, what orders do you need to fulfill, or what orders have been placed. So this report takes it a step further, and based on our reorder points, it will tell us if it's recommending that we reorder. So for example, this widget 2, I've told the system I want to keep a minimum of 50 in the file. I've got 0 on hand, and so you can see this check mark in this order column. This is the system saying I'm recommending that you reorder 51, and it's basing it on that minimum reorder. Okay, so you can see here that we have this great button that's called Create Auto Purchase Orders, and this is again letting the system do the work. So I don't have to go and manually create a purchase order for my widget 2. I can choose this and say create auto purchase orders. And now it's bringing all of those items that it had the recommended check beside. It's putting who our vendor is. So it's going to create that purchase order for us. It's showing what that minimum reorder point is, what you have available, what you have already on a purchase order, and so what it's recommending reordering. Okay, so it's letting that system do the work for you. Okay, I'm going to just hit cancel. Another thing I want to show you guys on the purchase order, I really like this. So if when I was going to order from Patent Hardware, I realized there's other things I need to order besides this client order, I can go ahead and I can order other items. I don't have to create a separate order between customers and stock. So you can see here that by adding these items, what I'm telling the system is I'm ordering brass hinges and decking, but they're not for a customer. So I didn't fill in a customer. I'm just ordering them to replace our stock. So I really love that. It's one purchase order, and I can do for stock and customers. I don't have to do them separately. Okay, so let's look at some other reports when it comes to managing our inventory. So on our sales order side, we have under sales, and it's open sales orders by customer or item. I'm going to do it by item since this is about inventory management. And so you can see this report shows you by inventory item every order that is waiting to be fulfilled. That's what I tell clients when it comes to the sales order. These are orders that we need to fulfill. Our customer has requested these, and we didn't have them in stock at the time to complete the order. So you can see here, for example, under our light pine, we have the customer ordered 4. We were able to invoice for 2. We have back ordered 2, so we still owe them 2. So this allows me to manage my customer orders and see what it is that I still need to fulfill to make sure I have enough purchase orders and I've got my orders for my stock to actually fulfill those. So same thing coming over to my purchasing side. Under purchases, we have open purchase order or open purchase order detail. And if you select the detail, it's going to give you that same breakdown. So broken down by my different inventory, it's going to show what I have outstanding to my vendors. So if we use this one, for example, right here, we have for our rough lumber, we ordered 35 from our vendor. We have received 20. We are still expecting 15 more. This allows us to, instead of going out and ordering more, we want to refer back to this report to see, have we ordered any yet? Okay. So kind of some other reports. I have a lot of my customers when it comes to inventory management. Their inventory manager likes to what I call live in the inventory center. So this center gives you information about your items. So allows you to see all of your items, and you can see history about your items. So all the transactions. So you can see here, you've got the name of your item. You've got information about the cost and sales price, the markup and the margin. And then over here is our quantities. The same thing we saw in those reports. We can see quantity on hand versus quantity available. Also, the same kind of reports that we did over there, you see that you have the links to them here. So for example, if we use our light pine, this report here is called a quick report. And so the quick report gives you activity that's been created around this item. So I can see I have invoices, I have bills, I have purchase orders, I have item receipts. So I always think of it as just an activity report. Okay, coming back to my inventory center, a physical inventory worksheet. So what this does is what we would recommend once a month. Sometimes clients do it once a quarter just because of the amount of inventory they have. The physical inventory worksheet gives you your list of items and descriptions, and it gives you what the current quantity on hand is. The expectation would be that this is taken to the warehouse to do an actual physical count to make sure that we do match the quantity on hand. Or if we need to go and make an adjustment to ensure, for example, for this baseball, if I only had 15 on hand, I'm going to put my 15 here, and then I'm going to come into inventory, and I'm going to choose to adjust my quantity. Okay, so this allows you to make sure that your warehouse and your accounting file always match. So back to my inventory center, this same report, that stock status that I showed you guys, your inventory manager can go directly to it from that module. You've got your negative inventory listing. So this is that report I showed you on the front end. So this allows your inventory manager to keep an eye on inventory quantities. I have some clients that they review this every week to make sure they can course correct where needed when it comes to that workflow of invoicing before we've received. So this allows them to keep an eye, making sure that accounting file stays healthy, their quantity on hand is accurate. Okay, so I showed you guys a couple of things, but let me show you under inventory, you have some other functions. So of course, this is your item list. So where we're gonna look at our item setup, what their descriptions are, what they're mapped to, information about them. You can from there create new inventory and assembly items, but of course you can do it from this area right here by simply selecting new. You also have where I showed you guys that adjusting your quantity and value. So when it comes to inventory adjustments, it's very important that you use this module to adjust your quantity and or value. So you can see that we can adjust our quantity, we can adjust value, or we can adjust quantity and value at the same time. So we want to make sure. We see sometimes where we talk about our balance sheet, inventory asset value, and our detailed inventory valuation summary not matching. We call it not tying out. And the reason why is because journal entries have been done to adjust the asset value instead of using this feature here and adjusting the value here at item level. So it's very important that you use this feature as it is intended. Okay, a couple more in here. So cycle count. I know it's going to make me want to log in, and I'm not going to, just for this example. But a cycle count is used when you have a lot of inventory and we just don't have time to go into that warehouse and count every piece of inventory. So sometimes we have clients that will do cycle counts, and they'll do them every month or every quarter, and you can choose to just do pieces of inventory, groups of inventory, categories of inventory. Maybe you constantly are, seeing that you're running negative in a certain type of inventory. Well, you can use it and create a cycle count and just inventory those every month to make sure that we're keeping an eye on what's going on with that inventory. Okay. And then the landed cost. So landed cost is an advanced inventory feature where we are saying that we're purchasing inventory and we have separate freight bills and we want to attach that cost to that inventory item. So we have a cost that includes that. And then of course, build assemblies. So if in your accounting file, you're doing manufacturing, before you can sell your finished good, you have to build it. So you want to build that assembly. And then of course, where we just were, we can create purchase orders through here. We can receive items through here. I showed you guys that physical worksheet. And then you can actually change item prices in here. So this is your inventory functions that are normally done. And so it's kind of, where you like to work at. You could do it at that inventory center, or you could do your drop down and choose to do it here. Okay, you guys, so I know I showed you a lot of information today. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Let's take a look at our questions, see if we have anything today before I let you get back to your day. Okay, and we do not have any questions. So I hope that means that I did a great job of explaining everything to you guys and it made sense. Of course, we are here for you. If you have any other questions or you need help with your inventory management, you're seeing that negative inventory in your file, please reach out to us. We would love to work with you and get you set up with those correct workflows, get your file back in line. So please let me know. If there's anything, just reach out to us and we will get you taken care of. So thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a good, oh, Reba has a question. What do you got for me, Reba? So you're saying the inventory adjust won't affect the P&L. It does affect the P&L because when you do a physical adjustment, you are going to offset the P&L. So you have to choose an adjustment account. So when you do an adjustment account, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a cost of goods sold for inventory adjustment. So if, for example, your widgets, they're $10 a piece, and that you say you have 5, and you really only have 3, so we need to do a $20 adjustment to change that quantity and value, it's going to decrease your inventory asset, and your offset is going to be your cost of goods for inventory adjustment. Okay, and then, so your other question was the quantity only option. I actually don't, and when I'm training clients, I always tell them to choose quantity and value. And the reason why is because sometimes we see when you adjust a quantity to 0, it will still hold a value. So every once in a while, when you go and you choose this to 0, it won't adjust the quantity to 0. So I always tell clients, always use the quantity and total value so that you can ensure that the value you want for that item is also accurate at the time you're making your adjustment. Okay, so thank you guys. I know we're a little bit over. If you have any other questions, please reach out to us. I would love to work with you guys one-on-one and help you with your inventory files. As you can tell, it's definitely my favorite subject to get to talk about. So please reach out. We'll get you set up. We'll take a look at your file, see what's going on. You guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you next week.